flavors of the different styles of sherry develop in the bodega, insularas, collections of butts full of similar wines of ascending age. A single sherry bodega may hold as many as 50,000 butts of Oloroso, Amontillado, Fino, and Manzanilla. The butts are continually replenished with slightly younger wine, ensuring a consistent style and a unique combination of tangy freshness and nutty maturity. Valencia was traditionally known for its sweet, grapey muscatels, while its neighbor, Utiel Requena, was the home of commercial reds. Both are now beginning to produce good varietal reds and whites. Apart from the regular appearance of one of the world's fastest trains, the giant open plains of La Mancha have changed very little over the centuries. It's almost as though the ghost of Don Quixote still hangs over the region, surveying vineyards of the white Eren that would have been there in his day. Quixote would also recognize the way wine is still sometimes made for local consumption, using methods developed by the Romans. Red and white wines were fermented and stored in large amphora-like tinajas. But the La Mancha wines sold today, both in Spain and elsewhere, are made by more modern methods. There is no alternative to up-to-the-minute equipment and the new grape varieties that are transforming the wines. As they are in neighboring Valdepeñas, home of some of the largest and most go-ahead producers. Two more red wine regions to watch for this kind of development are Yecla and Jumilla. Both of these regions could soon follow in the footsteps of Toro, a small denomination on the River Duero, which has already shown what it can do with its modernized, yet quite traditional red wine. As for white wine, the up-and-coming region is Rueda, where an exchange of expertise with foreign winemakers has helped this to become an ideal place to develop the potential of local grapes such as the Verdejo, and to grow French varieties like the Sauvignon Blanc. Bierzo is a region where grapes were first planted 600 years ago by French monks. For the Romans, the attraction was gold, of which they laboriously mined huge quantities. It's hilly country that suits the red Mencia grape, which is possibly related to the Cabernet Franc of Bordeaux and the Loire. Nearby Valdeorras also grows the Mencia, but even more promisingly, it has also rediscovered its own white grape, the Godello, an aromatic variety grown in the hills here and virtually nowhere else. Heading across from Valdeorras, it's worth pausing in the tiny region of Ribera Sacra, whose misty, steeply terraced vineyards seem to have nothing in common with the Spain of most outsiders' imagination. Finally, we complete our tour up on the west coast in the cool region of Rías Baixas, where the Albarino, one of the world's most attractive, spicy, floral white grapes, is grown above head level on pergolas, just as the Romans would have done to avoid the effects of humidity. Traditionally an area of small holdings, Rías Baixas is rapidly attracting serious investment from winemakers eager to join the competition to make Spain's best modern white wine. So, Spain has a much broader range of conditions and climates than many outsiders might have imagined. But what of the revolution? The spirit of exploration is affecting the Spanish wine industry literally from the ground up, as researchers study one of the most basic questions of all, the role different types of soil play in the final quality and flavor of a wine. Understanding the relationship between soil, climate, and grape variety will help to determine how new vineyards are developed and old ones improved. Deciding which grape varieties perform best is another focus of attention almost throughout Spain. The key lies both in exploring the potential of grapes that have traditionally been established in Spain and of new, imported varieties, and, where appropriate, being ready to blend the indigenous and the newcomers together. In the vineyard, here, as almost everywhere else in the world, vines, whatever the variety, have to be grafted onto American rootstock that is resistant to phylloxera, the louse that devastated vineyards throughout the world at the end of the last century. Phylloxera would still kill any vine that was planted on its own roots. Throughout the growing season, scientists are studying the way the grape develops from the first flowering until the time 100 or so days later when the fruit is ready to be picked. Ripe grapes are being studied too, to discover the relationship between the pips and the tannin in red wine. Understanding this will help winemakers decide when to begin harvesting and how to manage fermentation and maceration. Another study is focused on the reasons why different varieties and clones develop their individual flavors. Nothing is being taken for granted. Beliefs that have been held by several generations of wine growers are now daily being put to the test. Until quite recently, most Spanish wine growers trained and pruned their vines in much the same way as their fathers and grandfathers. Now questions are being asked here too, and traditional Spanish methods of vine growing are being compared with modern techniques devised by experts on the other side of the globe. The aim is to determine whether reorganizing the vineyard might not help to improve the flavor of the grapes. In most vineyards, the way the grapes are picked has changed little in the last 1,000 years. It's still backbreaking but convivial work. Today, however, in many regions, human pickers have given way to machines that shake the individual berries off their stalks and have the advantage of being able to work non-stop from the early evening until the following morning, bringing in the grapes while the temperature is cool rather than the heat of the day when there is the risk of oxidation. Throughout Spain, most of the vineyards are worked by